Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us for our January 7th, 2024 York City Council meeting. At this time, we will have public comment for non-agenda items only. Public comment will be for 5 minutes. Up first, we have Mr. Tommy Smith.
Council members and guests, I kind of wanted to let everybody know I've moved here from Texas in July, so I'm aware of what's been going on up here. I bought a new home up here. I love the area and everything like that, but being from Texas, down there at the border, you know our issues there, and I can't talk about them right now. But I just want to give everybody, I love York, Pennsylvania. My son and his wife and my two granddaughters, twin granddaughters live here, and that I have a multiracial family. So it's and I love it up here. This is a great country, great people. I haven't met anybody up here that I just have not liked. Very friendly and everything, kind of like Texas. You know, go down there and you meet people. Hey, those people are friendly. But I just wanted to let you know why I'm here to speak on the main issue here later tonight, and just wanted to let you know where I come from and stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I believe you dropped your pen, or just a pen dropped. Up next, we have Mr. Donald, starts with an N. Newcomb? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Don Newcomb, and I represent Goods Disposal Service, who was the apparent low bidder in the trash and recycling contract that was open yesterday. I simply wanted to let you know I'm here in the off chance that it was discussed in the new business part of the legislative agenda tonight. So I won't go into anything tonight. I just wanted to let you know I'm here in the event that it was planned to be part of the agenda, and to just answer any questions that you have, because there's choices that need to be made on once or twice a week. So I'm simply alerting you that I'm here in case there's questions. So I don't know if it's part of the agenda tonight or not.
It's not.
It is not.
Okay.
But thank you.
Thank you
for joining us. Is there any other public comment this evening for non-agenda items only? Okay. We will call this legislative meeting to order, 6:03 p.m. And Madam Clerk, may you please call the roll?
Bob?
Here.
John Askew?
Here.
Dennis?
Here.
Buckingham?
Here.
Washington?
Here. And may we please stand, all that can stand, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. We will take action on previous meeting minutes. I make a motion to approve our December 17th, 2024 meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That moves forward. This evening, we have two presentations, announcements or awards this evening. Up first, we have a proclamation proclaiming January 2025 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month in the City of York. And I believe we have YWCA York here to accept that this evening. Proclaiming January 2025 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month in the City of York. Whereas human trafficking is a devastating crime that exploits vulnerable individuals through coercion, deception, and violence, stripping away their freedom and dignity. And whereas January is recognized across the nation as Human Trafficking Awareness Month, a time to unite in raising awareness of this pervasive issue, which affects countless individuals, both within our local community and globally. Whereas human trafficking exists in many forms, including forced labor and sexual exploitation, affecting people of all backgrounds and ages, often remaining hidden in plain sight. In Pennsylvania alone, hundreds of cases are reported each year, with 220 cases identified in 2023, with 469 victims involved, ranking the 9th state in the nation for reported human trafficking cases. York County has not been immune to this crisis, as traffickers exploit the area's proximity to major highways, including I-83 and Route 30, making it a transit and a target area for trafficking activities. And whereas YWCA York plays an essential role in supporting victims and survivors by offering confidential, trauma-informed services free of charge, including shelter, transitional housing, counseling, legal advocacy, and community education for those affected by human trafficking, sexual assault, and domestic violence. Over the years, YWCA York has supported numerous survivors in our community, working closely with law enforcement and healthcare providers to ensure they receive the care and assistance they need. And whereas through ongoing education, prevention efforts, and community collaboration, YWCA York and its partners empower the public to better recognize the signs of human trafficking, advocate for survivors, and work towards eliminating the atrocities in our society. And whereas the fight to end human trafficking requires the collective efforts of government agencies, nonprofits, businesses, and individuals to protect the vulnerable and bring traffickers to justice. And now, therefore, we, York City Council, do proclaim January 2025 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month here in the city of York, Pennsylvania. And we urge all citizens to take an active role in the prevention of human trafficking, support local organizations like YWCA York in their vital work, and stand in solidarity with survivors as we work towards a world free from exploitation. It is presented on behalf of each council member, Teresa Janescu, Elizabeth Buff, Dr. Felicia O.A. Dennis, Betsy Buckingham, Vice President, and Aquina Washington, President, myself. And I believe we have Ashton Drummond here from YWCA York to speak.
Good evening, and thank you so much. My name is Ashlyn Drummond, and I have the honor of serving as the Anti-Human Trafficking Advocacy Coordinator at YWCA York. On behalf of our organization, I want to thank the York City Council for issuing this proclamation for Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Your recognition of this critical issue amplifies our shared mission to raise awareness and protect the most vulnerable members of our community. At YWCA York, we are dedicated to empowering survivors of human trafficking by providing free, confidential, comprehensive services, including advocacy, counseling, emergency shelter, and connections to essential resources. Our work is survivor-centered, ensuring every individual we serve is met with dignity, respect, and care. We also focus on the prevention and education, working alongside law enforcement, community partners, and local leaders to build a stronger network of support and awareness. Events like our annual Red Sand Project, held every January, serve as a visible reminder that the fight against human trafficking is ongoing, and it's a fight we must undertake together. This proclamation serves as a powerful statement that York is committed to being part of the solution. Together, we can shine a light on this issue, break the cycle of exploitation, and create a safer, more equitable community for all. Thank you for your support, for allowing me to speak today, and I look forward to continuing this important work alongside each one of you. Thank you.
On behalf of myself and my colleagues here at York City Council, thank you, YWCA York, for all this selfless work that you do in this area and so many areas in our community for our victims and survivors. We do have the proclamation here. If you want to take a picture or anything, we can come down for a quick picture. Thank you. Thank you again. Up next on the agenda, we have Mr. Todd Fogdahl, President and CEO of the Appel Center for the Performing Arts, to give us an update of all the excitement that they have going on.
Thank you so much, and I do really appreciate this opportunity. My name is Todd Fogdahl. I'm the President and CEO at the Appel Center. This evening, I am, make sure this is working.
You have the power on the side there.
Power. That would help. There we go. Thank you so much. This evening, I'd like to give you a short summary from our 23-24 season, focus on the Appel Center's impact here in York City, talk about some exciting things we've been doing to care for our York's historic theaters, and also give you a short preview of a very exciting moment in our history, the centennial of the Strand Theater. And I want to start with our mission statement. And that mission is to inspire, educate, and entertain through professional performing arts experiences that bring together York County's diverse voices. This is what leads our work every day. This is what grounds us. This brings us to work and to everything that we do for the community. Lots of numbers here as we look back at the 23-24 season, and in no way am I going to go over these, but just to focus on the big numbers in the green up arrow. Last year, we offered some 445 events and engagements to over 72,000 guests. That includes events in the Strand and Capitol Theaters, films, free community and education events, and many, many more. One of our big areas of growth is in education and community engagement. And if you just look simply at the number of offerings that we have brought to the community over the last 3 years, going from 35 in 21-22 to 232 last season, directly impacting over 16,000 total attendees. Digging a little bit deeper, right here into York City, our education and community engagement work directly impacted over 3,500 students at 56 different shows and workshop sessions. You see the names of the various schools and educational institutions impacted there. We continued our work with York City and their 21st Century After School program, putting our teaching artists in 6 K-8 buildings, as well as having any number of students come to the Capitol Theater to experience a film and education program. We had 50 William Penn students at our Creative Careers program last spring, and we had the Kenny Joseph Band, the photo on the left, which is made up of William Penn students who performed at our inaugural Student Music Festival, which is a festival to highlight those students performing in musical ensembles and styles that aren't your normal band, choir, orchestra within the schools. Another big focus of ours is to make sure that we are doing everything we can to welcome the entire community. And a few years ago, we wrote a diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility plan. It was a couple of page-long plan. These are a few of the bullets, a few of the focuses that I want to focus on tonight. Being very purposeful in our programming, in what we're bringing onto our stages to help to attract a broader range of our audience, to increase our audience, our Black, Indigenous, people of color audience by 3% was the goal we set ourselves. Break down barriers to entry, continue to reach out beyond our walls. And these couple of slides are just some samples of some of the artists that we have brought onto our stages in the last couple of years. Diverse, high quality, a wide range. And we've been very pleased to see the reaction of the community in coming out and supporting these events. Again, our goal was to increase audience by 3%. We started at 4% of our total audience in 2021 was made up of people of color in our community. 2022, we had built that to 6.64%. When we measured this in 2023, 13.5% of our audience represented by people of color. We're not stopping there. We're continuing that work, but we're very pleased with that progress. Another thing we do to support the local community and to support our nonprofits is we donate free tickets through a program we call Community Connectics. And these are tickets to our big shows in the Strand Theater. This isn't little stuff. This is the big stuff that we bring in. 758 tickets that we donated last year to 49 community organizations. 26 of those are based here in the city. And over the last 2 years, York City nonprofits have received over 550 free tickets to use through this program. Economic impact, again, a lot of bullets, a lot of numbers. I'm not going to cover all of this, but the highlighted bullet in the middle, when you look at everything we do, audience and organizational total expenditures have an economic impact locally of $10.35 million. And if you jump down to the bottom, an Appel Center guest coming to one of our shows spends an average of $14.81 on food and drink before or after their show. So if we have a sold-out show, 1,260 seats filled in the Strand Theater, that's almost $19,000 that's being spent at local restaurants and other establishments, largely right here in the city. And to look very, very specifically and at the impact on the city, since 2015, 2016, the Appel Center has made payments in lieu of taxes, contributions to the York City, and my number here, I've actually updated it since I sent this in. The number is actually $678,000 that has been contributed to the city to support everything that you do for us and making our work possible. A big part of our work is to care for our wonderful historic theaters with the Strand and Capitol. And we're in the midst of a 3-year Capitol renovation program, including, and work we've done in the last 2 years has included a complete replacement and upgrade of all of our HVAC. We've done a lot of re-roofing. We replaced all of the doors along George Street, all with accessibility hardware now. We've renovated concessions and restrooms and dressing rooms and our studio space, which overlooks Philadelphia Street. So far, we've invested $4.7 million over these last 2 years, and we still have more work to come this year. All of these things that we are doing are getting us ready for a significant moment in our history this fall when we will be celebrating the centennial of the Strand Theater. The Strand officially turns 100 years old on August 27th. We're planning a big free community day on Saturday, September 13th. We're looking to close George Street in front of the facility, bringing in a big family band coming out of Pittsburgh, having outdoor programming, also opening the whole interior of our facilities for performances and workshops and crafts and food, etc. A centennial gala on September 20th, performances running season long, an institutional marketing plan, historical storytelling, and the like. I know I've covered a lot of ground. Are there any questions that any of you have for me? Yes.
Thank you, it's great. And you're a great face for the organization. Would you remind us again the pilot amount, the updated?
$678,000.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just want to say thank you for keeping our arts and entertainment alive here in the city of York, and thank you for your investment in our residents and our nonprofits here in the city of York, and also thank you for your payment in lieu of taxes. We greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'd also say thank you for advertising on Facebook. That's where I learned about a lot of things. I see you have an improv class coming up, and so just
do.
So in addition to the shows, you do have educational opportunities for whomever, the public. So
we do, and we do have opportunities, obviously a lot for kids, a lot for K-12, but we do have opportunities going all the way up to adults as well.
Thank you, Todd.
Wonderful. Thank you all. Thank you.
Oh, very good. You can cancel that ATV. You can cancel that ATV.
Moving along, our next scheduled meetings for council or legislative meetings will be held here in council chambers Tuesday, January 21st, 6 o'clock p.m. All agenda items are due by 12 noon on January the 15th. And our council committee meeting will be scheduled for Wednesday, January 29th at 6 o'clock p.m. here in council chambers. All agenda items are due by 12 noon on January 22nd. Now we will move forward to our legislative agenda. Up next, we have introduction of new bills. We have introduction of bill number 1.
So introduced.
That's Bill number 1, introduced by Felicia Dennis, an ordinance amending the 2025 budget for the Parks and Recreation Bureau by appropriating additional revenue and expenditures for maintenance, repairs, and improvements to the city's war monuments and sculptures in the amount of $10,097.72.
Thank you. That is a bill and that will sit. Up next, we have resolution number 1.
Is
So
there,
introduced.
is there a motion to introduce by short title?
I make a motion introduced by short title.
I'll second.
All in favor say yes.
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 Opposed, no. And that's resolution number 1, introduced by Felicia Dennis, a resolution approving billing rates for engineering services with C.S. Davison and Transportation Resource Group for year 2025.
Move to approve.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any council comment regarding this?
No.
Is there any public comment this evening regarding this? Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Bub,
Yes?
John Askew,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Buckingham,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes, and that moves forward. Moving along, we have resolution number 2.
So introduced.
And that's resolution number 2, introduced by Felicia Dennis. Are you guys interested in short title on this one, or would you?
I'll make a motion introduced by short title.
Second.
All in
To
favor?
approve.
Short title. Okay, there's a first and a second to read by short title. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed,
Yes.
no. Okay. Sorry about that, you guys. Okay, and that is resolution number 2, which was introduced by Felicia Dennis, a resolution closing out Community Conservation Partnerships Grant Project number BRC TAG 27261. And that has to do with the Parks Master Plan.
Move to approve.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any council comment regarding this matter?
None.
I have none as well. Is there any public comment regarding this matter? Madam Clerk, can you please call the vote?
Bub,
Yes?
John Askew,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Buckingham,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes, and that moves forward. Up next, we have resolution number 3. So introduced.
Resolution number 3, introduced by Queen of Washington, whereas on December 27th, 2024, the mayor of the city of York vetoed Bill number 47, Ordinance 47, which was an ordinance creating Article 156, welcoming and access to immigrants and refugees of the codified ordinances by codifying the city's practices related to the provision of city services without regard to refugee or immigration status, providing for the severability of the ordinance, and providing that the ordinance shall take effect in accordance with Pennsylvania law. And whereas Section 413 of the Third Class City Code, optional charter law, regulates that council may override the mayor's veto by a vote of 2/3 of its members on or after the third day the veto is received from the mayor. And whereas City Council desires to override the mayor's veto of said bill, Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of York that council hereby overrides the mayor's veto of Bill number 47, ordinance number 47 of 2024, and be it further that said bill as amended is hereby enacted as approved by City Council on December 17, 2024.
Move to approve.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any council comment this evening regarding this?
Yes, please. Just forgive me for reading a prepared statement because of the weight of this issue. If the veto of this legislation is upheld, it does not diminish our credentials as a welcoming city established under an executive order in 2017. We are already living these principles. To uphold this veto at this time is not anti-immigrant. CASA attorney assures us that there is no risk. Our city solicitor advises us otherwise, and I believe we should heed that advice. Not once have we discussed what the loss of that funding would look like, and there is no plan for the possible loss of that funding. And yesterday in the dispatch, as a comparative analysis, they compared the $2 million in HUD funding against the total $70 million budget. I think this is an oversimplification of what the city budget looks like, and it makes that $2 million HUD dollar look insignificant. And I would invite, well, business administrator stepped out, to elaborate or correct me. I just did a quick review of the budget. A lion's share of that city budget, that $70 million, goes to employee wages and benefits and city retiree pension and benefits. The remaining balance must cover all other operational expenses of maintaining the city. There is little enough for the provision of services to our city's most vulnerable. In terms of revenue, $8 billion in returns from the WWT wastewater treatment plant principle allowed for no increase in taxes. Property taxes and other taxes and fees represent about $33 million in revenue for 2025, according to the city treasurer's page in the city budget. That leaves about $29 million in revenue, and that is derived from other sources, including federal, state, and various other grants. The city relies on more than $2 million in federal grants. Per Mayor Helfrich, York City's funding from HUD alone is about $2 million annually. We don't know how the other federal funds will be affected, funds that pay for additional police officers, firefighters, public works, etc. The HUD funds are used to help build and maintain affordable housing for first-time homebuyers grants, for low-income home improvement projects, for tearing down blighted properties, for helping the homeless, for career training, GED classes, and even fund CASA. So a loss of these funds will increase human suffering as these essential services, caring for our most vulnerable residents, may be reduced. Do we simply ask city taxpayers to make up the amount? Can our homeowners, already disproportionately burdened with the cost of running the city, bear the additional burden for the loss of funding of these essential services? Do we use the WWT money to make up for the loss? The city is running a year-on-year deficit. City taxpayers are cushioned by the return on investment of the wastewater treatment plant money. However, those robust returns may shrink as economists are predicting troubled markets in 2025. There's a lot of uncertainty. Do we dip into that principle further, eroding the cushion, pushing us toward a fiscal cliff sooner than the 10 years anticipated? York cannot afford this nobility. I am confident New York City will continue to honor the executive order in place. I am aware of my responsibility as a council member to protect all of York's residents. And so that's why I will uphold the mayor's veto of the Trust Act at this time. It does not rule out further reconsideration of this legislation.
Thank you, Councilwoman Janescu. Is there any other comments from council this evening?
Yes, thank you. I've been focused on learning as much as I can about this issue. It's very complex and has been going on a long time at the federal level. For the reasons provided by the mayor and the solicitor, I will be voting to uphold this veto. Also for the reasons I brought up when it was introduced. I had questions about the police encounters with resident non-citizens. I'd had a conversation with Captain Lentz today, and he said they are directed to protect all people. He will accept direct emails to dlentz@yorkcity.org with complaints about any police acting improperly, and he also showed me how to find the way to make an anonymous tip. I wanted to make sure everyone knows how to make an anonymous tip. You go to yorkcitypolice.com, and on the top right of the page is a Submit a Tip button. They cannot track the source. It is anonymous, and they welcome and want your input. They want to help. He provided a comment. He could not be here, but he said, per our conversation, I wanted to reiterate that we, the York City Police Department, are committed to serving every human being within our community. Service is our top priority, and they aim to deliver it exceptionally. To further deliver exceptional service, community members can visit www.yorkcitypolice.com, where they can find various resources and submit anonymous tips. So that is their commitment. While I vote against the bill, I am supportive of more conversation and collaboration with partners in the city to educate residents, citizens and non-citizens on their rights and resources available to them. This is an opportunity to build a coalition and infrastructure for the future, as there has been a coalition in the past and on other challenges. I invite listeners to learn more about the current immigration law and linked a few instructive videos to my Facebook page, Elizabeth Bupp for City Council. There's a lot of information out there, and for that reason, I'm not ready to overturn the veto. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bupp. Is there any other council comment regarding this matter? I'll just say my stance stays on how I continue to move forward with this. I will state what I've always stated. I've stated it over and over again. No amount of money is worth the freedom and safety of our residents here in the city of York. And that is how I believe it should be, and I will move forward with that. And at this time, I will open it up for any comment from our community here this evening.
Tommy Smith. As I said, I moved here from state of Texas. I know what the illegal immigrant problem is. I'm not against immigrations. I'm wholly 100% for it. I'm a military man. So that should say something itself. I can tell you right now, where I lived, our crime rate went up terribly. And think about this on the crime rate. You don't think it'll happen to you? Ask Lincoln Riley's family whether the crime rate caused by illegal immigrants. What if it's one of your children, one of your kids that this happens to? How are you going to pay for this? Donald Trump, and believe me, he's already said to come out and said, I will pull all funding, federal funding, for anybody that turns their city into a haven for illegal immigrants. I've got 2 granddaughters live here, and I don't want them subject. You're talking about schools, expenses of schools, because that's going to happen. You're going to have to give them schooling, and you pay for it, and your taxes will go up. But most of all, folks, is we have a Constitution to live by, and that Constitution says that you have to come here legally or you're not a citizen. And I can tell you what our governor's going to do down in Texas, not literally, but he's going to load buses up when he finds out with buses with illegal immigrants, and guess where they're coming? York, Pennsylvania, because that's what he's done all over. And then think of the crime rate, New York City, Chicago. It's going out of style. You don't need this. You've got something great here. You've got a place where people want to move to, come and live like I have. And if you do this, I can tell you your crime rate's going to go up. And how are you going to feel when you have to tell that mother, well, I voted to bring those people up here, and it's going to be on your front door. Because they're going to say, you're one of the reasons my child is dead, or my mother's dead, or my dad's dead, or my wife's been raped, or my granddaughter's been raped. Folks, that will happen. I guarantee you that. And I'm totally against this bill, and I would hope the rest of the council members up there would say, for the sake of the people here in York City, we're going to uphold the veto by the government, by the mayor. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment this evening? Yes, sir.
I'm Scott Smith. First of all, thank you for allowing us to have this time to speak to each and every one of you guys. I think my dad was like looking over my shoulder when I was making my notes that I wanted to say here today, but that's fine. I'll give him his glory. But to reiterate kind of what he was saying is, my first question is, what would the plan be if you did pass this bill and allow the illegal immigrants to come in? I mean, how many are we talking? Are we talking 100? Are we talking 10,000? I mean, is there a number that's been in place that we could actually, vote on? Because I mean, you're talking, that's a huge difference, 100 or 1,000. But like he said, I'm from Texas originally. My wife and I both served 20 plus years in the Air Force, and when we came to retire, we had two brand new twin daughters, and we wanted a safe place for our daughters to grow up. And we had family that migrated from Puerto Rico. And so when we started looking at places to move to, we came up here for our wedding. I was like, wow, this is a really nice place. Why not York? And my wife's like, yeah, why not York? Now, if I could go back in time, I will tell you that our plan was to move to Florida where it's nice and sunny and not cold and snowy. But with that said, we decided to make the move up here, and we don't regret it at all. We love this community here. Some of the best friends that I have made have been here in Pennsylvania. My last duty station was in Shreveport, Louisiana. And if you look at the crime rate in Shreveport, Louisiana, compared to what the crime rate in York, Pennsylvania is, I mean, you're talking on two different atmospheres. And so I worry about my daughters, because I don't have sons, I have daughters. And what, you gave out an award tonight, human trafficking, not only girls, but boys too. But you're right, we're a corridor. I-83, I-30 gets down to I-95, and they're gone because we're so close to the highway here. And that's something we have to stop. And allowing illegal immigrants to come in is only going to increase those numbers. And also, I will tell you this, like he said earlier, my wife is from Puerto Rico, but we have extended family that they're from Guatemala, and they migrated here legally, and it's a long process. It truly is a long process. Now, that's a conversation we should try to have about how we can cut down the time that it takes to get legal immigration, to get from point A to point B to where they can become citizens. I mean, you're talking 10 plus years that it took my niece to get, and her family to get legalized and become citizens. But I also worry, about, all these kids. And he mentioned schools earlier. When my daughters go to school, it's a 26-to-1 ratio right now. They're in the third grade. It's 26-to-1. What's that going to do to the numbers of the school? And how's that going to increase our taxes? Because let's be honest, they're probably not going to, English will not be their first language, so you're going to have to teach them the language as well. It's just, I agree that I think you should uphold the vote of the mayor. I think it's the best thing to do for our community. I do want to say that coming from marrying into a different culture really opens up your eyes to see what even my wife, who's from Puerto Rico, but what they have to go through, because English was not her first language, not only in the military, but even anywhere here. People automatically see that she's, brown skinned, and they automatically assume that, she's illegal or she's from Mexico or something like that. And there is, I guess stereotypes is what you would call it. I don't want to call it racism because I don't think that's...
Wrap up your time.
Yes, ma'am. But again, thank you all for the time, and I hope that you do uphold this this veto. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment this evening?
Manuel Gomez, City of York. English is not my first language. So suspenseful. We see other members of the citizenry didn't want to join after such suspense. I just want to make sure there's no illegals creeping up behind me. If we distill the issue, imagine how I feel. You have a neophyte member of council browbeating us about fiscal responsibility and a deficit where properly construed it's not a deficit, it's various deficits, plural, each deriving from different streams, funds, all systemic, and I still hold true, it's a red herring at best, and you're scapegoating certain communities at worst. We've had many worthwhile contributions from some of those members of council that oppose this. The mayor himself is quite the statesman, although he's behaving more akin to a politician on this issue. Doesn't seem like he's speaking too much to the city residents ourselves. I'm not even sure he's in chambers tonight. You can't tell me that the mayor's not aware that the actual prevailing law of the land protects council from being compelled by the federal government. You can't be coerced. And if we're using terms from council, fiscal cliff, harms, the further it reaches to the point where you say it's injurious or it damages the ability of the local government to say, we don't want to do this, but we must because we have no other choice. The courts have already ruled on that principle itself. It is fundamental. You cannot be coerced as a local body. You have autonomy. If the only option is to say yes, because the only other alternative is that you fail as a government body, fiscally, that's coercion. It's been ruled on over and over and over. If the Elmer Fudd types continue to repeat it's the law of the land and it's constitutional, quite the contrary. What's the existing and prevailing law of the land is you cannot be compelled. That leads me to ask, what's the real philosophical impetus for the veto and upholding the veto? Don't tell me it's a fiscal question. That is defunct as an argument. It just is. And this is why I wanted this to go into committee so we can go deeper into detail, so we can flesh out what it is we're talking about. We can count to 10 together, and we'll wait for the Elmer Fudd types to join us. We won't leave them behind. And we'll remind them we have the 10th Amendment. You cannot be compelled. Funding requirements always come with strings attached. I've spent 20 years, a broken record, reminding council that funding requirements, anytime you get those federal funds, they come with strings attached. Those are not nooses. They're strings attached. Unfortunately, the Constitution is only brought up as a cudgel or a bludgeon. There's more to the Constitution than those sound bites. We're not making federal law here. Nobody's pretended to make federal law, impact federal law. But what you are shielded from is that federal compulsion. You cannot be coerced. These abstractions and these dollar sums are extremely irresponsible to quote to the media, let alone to speak of in chambers legislatively. We don't know what would be up for threat. There's no reason or basis. It would be, the best way I can put it, I could put it many ways, the best way I can put it is, it's like you run into your neighbor at the hardware store and you say, hey man, you're freaking out. And you say, why you look so relaxed? Your neighbor says, well, what's going on? They said, well, the 1,000-year storm, are you preparing? And they go, what 1,000-year storm? We're not gonna have a 1,000-year storm where the federal government's gonna come in, target York, and successfully limit our federal funding. Wanna know how we know this? It hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. Where there's been a challenge, it's either been dissolved by the courts or it's been overturned. It's not going to happen. What is the real philosophical reason that's being used for cover? Or the cover really is Trump, and you think you're just a lighter shade of orange, and you're a facsimile put there to mimic what the federal authorities would like to see across the land. That's not how it works in this country. It's just not, fundamentally speaking. And again, York is intricately woven in that history of defiance to the federal mandate. Absolute defiance from the Articles of Confederation and beyond. The entire cast of characters, I'm far from the most radical to speak anywhere in this land. Far from it. I'm tame compared to it. But that's just a fact. If it's a fiscal question, your argument is defunct. And I say all of that to say this. The ordinance itself is fatally flawed. We know that the reporting and action requirements fell upon the mayor's office. Again, even if we had a unanimous vote of yes, even before the veto, it was fatally flawed to begin with, unfortunately, which again, I think that it would have been better fleshed out through the committee process, of course. We would have caught that. We've also would have further distilled the proper philosophical basis for the contention. Fiscal one, it is not.
Thank you. Do you have any, sir? You have comment?
Good evening, Council. I am Lester Abbott. I live on the east side of York. I've been a York City resident for the past 35 years. I wasn't able to attend the December meeting, but I did look at it several times on Facebook and YouTube, and I did. I believe the mayor had a press conference or something like that about why he was going to veto this bill. I'd like to submit to you several things here. First off, the new federal administration that's coming in here on January 20th, they've already said that HUD is a target. It's a big red target for them. And they're going to reduce that funding anyhow. So the funding that you're trying to protect here by vetoing this bill doesn't really exist. And it may not exist in 25, 26, 27, or thereafter. Okay? So what I didn't hear during the last council meeting, and what I didn't hear from the mayor was, I should say, what I heard was that they don't have a problem with the language in the bill. I don't have a problem with the language in the bill. What they have a problem with is the new federal administration reducing the funding to York City. And as I said, the HUD is target number one, target number two, right behind education there. So that's a lame argument to me. I have, like I say, lived in the city of York for 35 years. I've known many, many immigrant families who provide the city with good services and all that. I mean, yes, there are many, many good immigrants that come here, documented, undocumented, whatever you want to call them. Okay? And yes, there are some bad apples there, and we will weed those out. But just on the other side of the coin, there are a lot of other citizens who are also committing these same crimes. So I don't think it's fair to place all the crime that some people do onto the undocumented. Okay? The other thing I'd like to remind council of is, if there's one thing we've learned over the last 100 years, and I'm looking towards our European friends over there, okay, and that is when we start to treat minorities, when we start to treat subpopulations, undesirable populations, let's say, when we start to treat them badly and we move them into internment camps, which is something that the federal government is looking to do. I mean, by their own words, That's something they're looking to do. They've already, in the past time that they were in office, they separated families. So communities, what we've learned from the European experience is that people of good conscience need to step up and say, no, we're not going to be doing this. This is not who we are as United States citizens. And that's really what I wanted to say today. That's we need to decide who York City is. And that's the crux of this argument.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment this evening?
Hi, my name is Crystal Perry. I work and live in the city. I didn't come here tonight to speak on this issue. I came to support my coworker. But there was some misinformation tonight, and during the proclamation, we heard that education and awareness is the biggest key point in a lot of our making change. I've been working with victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking for 22 years. I've worked in 2 different states. And you know what the most common denominator in my victims are? Is that they are people of color. And this is all people of color. They are the highest amount of victims. Do you know what the average for buyers of trafficking? 40-plus-year-old affluent white men making 6 figures a year with college educations. So to sit here and hear someone say that immigrants are coming to this country doing the crime and doing the things makes my blood boil. Because it is not. That is not what I'm seeing in my work. They are the victims I am working with. They are the highest amount used for labor trafficking and for sex trafficking. You've seen busts on our massage parlors. You've heard about the exploitation within kitchens. This is the population. Our country does not make it easy for them. Everybody thinks, oh, just come here legally. Do you know Pennsylvania only has 2 fingerprint stations and one of them is in York? So if they're not protected here, but they have to come here to get legal, how can they come here safely? If one of my clients needs genital mutilation referrals, I have to send them to Maryland because we don't have a service like that. Yet there's countries out there that are still doing this to their women. This is the population I work with. This is the population we should be protecting. Yes, the highways do make a difference in human trafficking, but 93% of all victims, their first trafficker was a family member. And that doesn't say an immigrant family member, a black family member. That is a family member across all populations. Don't forget that this is not an easy process. It was brought up that it took over 10 years. Yeah, the U visa, the T visa, VAWA self-petition, all of those things set to protect this population are backlogged over 10 years. To get a physical for an asylum seeker is over $600. These people aren't coming here not wanting to work. A lot of times they're taking the jobs no one else wants to do, and that's why they're being exploited. But they can't get the money together to get the physical to keep them in this country, or they can't pay the processing fees. It's not, like you said, there are some bad apples. Don't judge them by that. Because I guarantee you, in 22 years, I've worked with more people of color from every race than anyone else.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Mauricio. How are you guys? This is quite a topic to talk about. Last time I was here, I told you about my personal experience, but I didn't close my thought. At the end of my experience with police department here in York, I was the victim of violent crime. My house was shot out. I reached to the police department. The way the police department it operates and the commitments that they make to the community as far as treating everybody the same and everything that is in the bill they claim to do, it doesn't happen. One thing is to say it, another one is to live it. So I was the victim of a violent crime. My house was shot out. I have pictures of the individuals that did it. They went through my house the next day and talked about it on the side of my neighbor without them knowing that my neighbor was listening to it. I took this information directly myself to the police department. Nothing happened. It's been 2 years, more than 2 years. I haven't even heard from them. The mayor was here and he heard about it. I never hear from them. So yes, their promises are very good, but the trust is not there. So that's one. There is no trust in the police department because how they conduct themselves. The second issue, or not issue, but the second thing that we should understand is that immigrants, illegal immigrants, if we call them like that, here we just said that receiving them will increase crime. Where this information comes from, I'm not sure, but statistics in the country indicate that that's not true. Most likely, a crime will be committed in the U.S. by a citizen or a permanent resident, not by illegal. Why? Because they're scared of being taken out of the country if they commit a crime. So generally speaking, they do not commit crimes. Do you know how you increase crime rates in the country? By not doing the police work, by ignoring people like me that go to the police, show pictures of people that are shooting at houses, and police departments don't do nothing. That's how you increase. So during that time of the year, of our 2-3 years, we were at the highest level of violence in the city. You will think that the police department will at least follow a lead. 2.5 years and they haven't done anything. So now you're telling us that they're going to do it just because some obscure reason that we don't know? It's not going to happen. So at the end of the day, it's who we are as community, as people. How do we define ourselves? Again, is money more important than people? I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Madam Clerk, can you please call the vote?
A vote yes means that you agree to overturn the mayor's veto. A vote of no means that you want the veto to stand. Okay, Bub,
No?
John Askew,
No.
Dennis,
Yes.
Buckingham,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes. That does not move forward. We have no request for future meetings. Do we have any council comment this evening?
I did want to comment real quick. I don't know if you had an opportunity to see the email that the Commissioner Muldrow sent earlier today, and he asked that it be shared that he looked into a lot of the complaints that were expressed at the last council meeting about people being stopped for their immigration status. And in a nutshell, he said that there was nothing that was proven fact with that. Not saying that it wasn't real, but he was saying that there was no record of it. And in another instance, they couldn't, it wasn't York City police that were approached in one of the situations that happened, that it wasn't York City, that it might have been another municipality. So he's not refuting that it happened. It just didn't happen with York City police officers for at least one of those incidents that occurred.
May I add on to that, the Director of Human Relations was involved, as well as CASA, in these investigations. The police, met with them. We each received a report. I don't know if everyone's had a chance to read it.
I read it. You can keep it short.
Yeah, it's going to be short. It's about the same topic. Good evening. My name is Dolores Minaya from York City. I was one of the persons that made the comment on the last meeting. And I had a meeting today with police members in your city human relation, and the victim, or one of the comments that I made. He, after conversation and investigation, we realized that it did happen in New York City, but it was not the New York City Police Department. Now, saying that, the York City Police Department was not informed about what happens, but they promise that they will investigate without involve the person directly, but just to see exactly how that happens. Like somebody taking a shower, they come in the house, knocking the door, 10 years old, open the door, and mom come and said to the police officer or whoever was there to please hold because her husband is taking a shower. At the time she went up and came down, it was 7 police officers inside the house. And when she said that he was taking a shower, one of them went in the bathroom, knocked the door, and asked him to remove himself and go downstairs without being dressed. It was no paper showing that there was having permit to go in the house, but it was not a police department from York City. They investigated, and me personally wanted to apologize for not having the correct information, and that's why I'm here tonight. But saying that, like the sister said over here, we need more education. We need to collaborate more. Like, things happens in the city from maybe a county police officer, but the person that is being stopped, he probably don't identify what happened, where's the police coming from. That's why everybody always say police city department. So I wanted to put my face in here and personally said, yes, before we come here, we need to be sure exactly that the information we're providing, it is standing and correct. But we are working together in this. Thank you.
Is there any other council comment?
I just want to thank Dolores for explaining that. And there is some misinformation, and there is a difference between what the federal government does and ICE, what ICE can do versus what our local police force does. They may all look the same, so it's important to recognize that they're not. I don't know where I put my other note. There are criminal statutes on the books. This bill did not negate any of those. This bill deals with administrative issues. Anyway, I just wanted to, we all need to learn about the immigration laws from the federal level to the state to the local. And we need to come together and build a coalition in the city so that people have someone to call when that happens. If they can't or don't feel comfortable calling the police, though we all agree that call the police, but let's build that infrastructure, that coalition, come together. An infrastructure so that people have a place to go. They know who to call, and let's advertise it, because we support everybody who lives here and want everybody to be safe. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bub. We see there's no administration comment this evening. At this time, it's 7:03 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.